Hey everyone, Jonathan Wells here. Welcome back to Loanology, the Jonathan Wells personal finance podcast, where we talk about all things home ownership. We talk about credit scores. We talk about how to make money, all the things, right? I'm your host, Jonathan Wells, and I'm ready to rock and roll with you guys. It is a Sunday evening at 10:30 p.m. That's how much I love this. That's how much I love you guys. That's what we want to do today. I've got lots of good stuff here packed up for you guys. And we're going to start it off with how to move up correctly, right? How to do a move up purchase as a first time, move up buyer, right? So I work with a lot of first time home buyers, as you guys know. And over the last couple of years, I've had more of those buyers that I've helped out in the past come back to me and ask to help them again with moving up to the next home that they're going to buy, right? So let's get started with that. Before we jump into it, though, you guys know I have to do a drink review every single episode. So today we're looking at Mastro or Maestro. I think it's Mastro because it's spelled that way. Maestro Dobel Tequila, right? I got this. It's a store pick from some rinky-dink liquor dealership or liquor dealership. My goodness, John. Liquor store in Bloomington, Illinois, where I went and camped out in an ice fishing tent with my buddy for a bourbon raffle because I'd have no life outside of work and I wanted to have some fun. This was back in March that we did this. And I'm just now getting a bottle from him that I bought over there that I accidentally left in his truck because we just keep forgetting about it. So this is what I got. It was a store pick. Not a huge tequila guy, but it was pretty good from the sample that I took. So we put it over ice and we're going to give it a try here. Whew. I can attest that is tequila. So that is tequila. My goodness. I love/hate tequila. I don't know. Not a huge tequila guy, to be honest with you, but I needed a little drink review. This is what we had. We rolled with it. It's all good. Moving on. So I've moved up personally too. Here's a couple of things that I would make sure. Here's like the two mistakes that I would try to avoid when you're moving up, just from my humble opinion and experience, right? First thing, I would not move up until you're like ready. I would delay that for as long as you can personally. Which I make money off of people moving up, guys. It's funny every time I'll talk to a client, I'll give them like real advice, and they're like, "Wait a minute, like, isn't that like not going to get you a sale?" I'm like, "Yeah, but like the whole goal is not to obviously, I mean, the goal is the goal isn't for me not to get a sale, right? But the goal is to just give the right advice, right? Like that's my job." And so, advice I would give is don't move up until you're ready. Enjoy the first home for as long as you can. That should be between 5 and 7 years, is what it is for most people. Now, you can rent that place out and still have it as a backup plan, which I would definitely recommend doing that too, depending on your situation. But yeah, I would not personally move up until you're absolutely ready. This means if you are a single person living in a home by yourself, do not move up with your partner until, personally, in my humble opinion, um, I would say I like dating for, you know, at least 6 months to a year before like moving in with somebody, and then being living with somebody for 6 months to a year before actually selling that place and going to get a new place together, right? That's just me personally. Like my girl and I we were dating now. We've been talking since December. We like made it official in February, so we've been dating now for February, March, April. Beginning of May would be 3 months that we'd be dating. We have our first trip planned, which is at the end of May. We're gonna go see my cousins in Florida for Memorial Day weekend. So like I think that 3 months in is, like, a good for, like, planning, a weekend vacation type of thing, right? Um, and then I think that, you know, like, she owns her own place and I own my own place, so, like, there's no chance either of us are gonna move in, within, realistically a year of dating. Like, after that, we'll see what happens next spring if, if that all works out that way. But my advice to you guys is don't rush into anything, right? Like I made that mistake with an ex where, I let her move in really quickly, like way too quickly. We were dating like we've been talking since like August, and then we officially started dating in December, and then she was moved in like by I think St. Patrick's Day was kind of how that whole thing worked, I think. Um so, that was like way too quickly in my opinion. Um so yeah, do your thing, right? Don't don't be stupid, right? Like I was dumb. It worked out for me. I mean, I made a lot of money off the place that I'm in now, but don't be an idiot, right? So that's the first thing. First mistake. Don't do it too quickly. Don't do it for the wrong reasons. Second thing is don't fall for the trap of like either like cheaper is better or like, you know, like tacky, flashy marketing campaigns, right? So for example, there's a builder out here that, it's not a local builder. Like this is a national production builder, right? And so they just buy up plots of land, slap in some houses, sell them all, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to give everybody 5% rates," right? And the reason for that is their homes really aren't that in a bag of chips, right? Like they're actually kind of overcharging you and they're making a ton of money off of you on the home that you're buying from them because they're using cheaper materials. They can get away with it because it like barely meets code, things like that, right? And the like I do lose business to them, but I don't think that those are like I don't think I lose it for the right reasons, right? Like, you know, if you're moving up into a higher price point and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go with this builder that just slaps houses together and like that's it. The home doesn't have much of a personality, in my opinion, which, I know there's more to a home than just the personality of it, right? But like, you want to have a little bit of charm to your place, right? Two, I just don't love materials that builders are using nowadays, right? Like, I know that this is like the wood that we have or whatever, but I don't know, have you guys ever seen like that TikTok where it's like comparing wood from older homes to wood from newer homes? Like they don't build things like they used to anymore. So it's just, I don't know. I just don't like it. I think you can get a better deal and more value for an existing home than you can for a new home. And there's things that you can do to make the old home like a new home. For example, a tankless water heater. You could put in, uh, you can install like let's say just like new energy efficient washer and dryers. Like there's a lot of things you can do to make an older home act like a newer home without, throwing a ton of cash at it, right? And you can do light renovations here and there and new paint and new flooring and things like that and really make it a different place. So I think that like at the end of the day, it's your own personal choice. Do what you want to do, but don't buy a home just for the interest rate. Like that's I don't know, I just that seems like a really bad decision in my opinion, right? But anyways, moving forward. Uh I have a client that hit me up. I've got a lot of clients that hit me up about, purchasing a new place. But this one client in particular, we're going to use this him as an example. He's going to sell the home that he's currently living in. He bought it for about 180, about 6 years ago and put down, you know, um I think he did put down 20% at the time, but anyways, he owes like 67,000 on the home right now. He's gonna sell it for about 300 and wants to go buy a $420,000 home because he wants to start having kids with his wife and wants to, like go through that whole process, right? So let's take a look at the options that this client has. So option one, purchase price $420,000. I'm assuming he's gonna net roughly 190 grand because you have $420,000. See, 420,000. We're gonna multiply that by 0.92 because we're imagining that they're gonna pay 8% between realtor fees, closing costs, tax credits, title fees, things like that, all of that stuff, right? So we're gonna walk away with, oh, sorry, hang on, selling the home for 300. Not that was the purchase of the home at 420. So 3.92. Going to walk away with $276,000, subtracting the mortgage amount that they owe, which is 67 grand. Going to walk away with 209, at that point, right? So 209. Now you can put down, I would say he puts down 175,000, or let's just say he puts down, I don't know, 195,000 for a down payment. Takes out a mortgage of 225 at an interest rate of 7%, let's just say. Closing costs are just average closing costs for Indiana plus 1% in points. And, monthly costs, we're going to say, are 150 for home insurance and 1% for property taxes. No mortgage insurance because obviously you're putting down more than 20% at that point. He's putting almost half on this new place. That would bring his payment out to $1996.93, and cash to close is about $196,000, right? Because he's getting a tax credit, and we're also assuming the seller's going to throw in a $6,500 credit as well. So that's where most clients, let's just say that that's the average where they would be, right? Now, he currently pays $850 a month for his mortgage, plus he pays $226 a month for his HOA. So he's paying $850 plus $226. That's $1,076 per month. His new payment is just under $2,000. So essentially, the payment's doubling to go up in purchase price, about 120 grand. Now, everyone's thinking, wow, that's like a lot for a little bit of an increase. Keep in mind, this client refinanced their home with me in 2021, I believe, or 2020. No, it was 2020 that this client refinanced their home with me, and they got a rate of like in the 2% range, right? So definitely, definitely was a really good deal that they got, right? Personally, if I were this client, I would think about keeping it as a rental, because you could probably charge like $3,000 a month, somewhere between the 2,000 and 3,000 range, for the location that's in and things like that, and you'd make some decent money off of it. But again, to each their own, right? So people may think like, okay, that's great. Moving up, I'm going to be spending $1,000 more a month to get the new place. Keep in mind, as rates move lower, you can always refinance that home too, get that payment down a little bit more. But whatever, right? So let's say we're doing that. People often ask me, well, how do I access that money when I'm going to go buy the new home, right? And so it's very simple. What you would do is let's say you're looking to buy a home and you're moving up, so you need to sell your place too. You can have your current home listed for sale with your realtor while you're shopping for new homes. And you can delay, like if somebody wants to buy your home, you can tell them, great, like you can buy my home, but the closing date is going to be maybe 60 days out. But at any point, I can tell you that like it's going to be within the next, 30 days because I have to, I'm basically waiting until you're waiting to buy my house until I find a new one, right? You can do that depending on your home, like the marketability of it and things like that. You can also do, you can buy before you sell, like with a bridge loan, or you can put down money that you have currently, without that. There's a lot of different ways to do it. So let's just take it for the easiest way, right? Like this client, what he wants to do is get his home under contract that he's going to sell while he's also trying to close out on the purchase of his new home. You can do that, no problem. You won't run into a ton of issues that way, but what you will do is like you will run into some issues with that. It just depends on, like the place you're buying, the marketability of it, right? Like if the place you're buying is a home that's in very high demand, people aren't going to want to wait for your home to close. They're going to want you to close on this place, within the next 30 days because they got things that they're moving on to. And again, they don't want to play the waiting game. Now, there's ways to get around that. So let's say you can't, like you have to buy this next place that you're going. before you sell your current place. There's a few different options for that. So let's say this guy, this particular client has $25,000 in his savings account. He could put down 5% and do it that way and deplete his savings. He doesn't want to do that, which I understand. But if you're a client that's out there looking at some different options, like if you have money to put down, you can get away with as little as a 5% down payment on your next property. Now, obviously, he wouldn't be just putting down 5%. Like even if he did do that option, when he sold the home, he'd want to put more of that money down and pay off more of that principal, which we'll talk about in a minute. So you want to do that. You can either put down some money you have existing. You can get a gift from a family member if you want to. Like that's always, an option that you have as well. If that's available to you. You can also, take out what's called a bridge loan, where you actually get money borrowed from your current home that you use as a down payment on the new one. So like, let's say you have, he's got a lot of equity in his home. He could borrow 50 of that if he wanted to for a down payment or even more potentially, right? Typically with bridge loans, you can borrow up to about 80% of what your home's value is. So then, that way you're putting down, the equity you have in your current place into the next one and you're ready to rock and roll. And essentially how that would get paid off is just at closing, you wouldn't get as much back from the sale of your home because you've already put it down in the next place. Yeah. Also, like sometimes loan officers, they need you to, like, let's say you're buying the new place, you might not qualify for the new place and your existing place. So what you would do is you can actually get a cash offer on your existing home from a company that I work with. And it's a total transaction fee of about $2,000, depending on what option you go with. And, bridge loans, if you add a bridge loan to it, it's a little bit more expensive and things like that too. But I got a client doing this as well, where they are purchasing this new place. They're putting down 5% from their own funds / a gift they're getting from her parents. And they can't qualify for both homes. They can only qualify with one, with the new property. So we're getting a cash offer from this company on their departing residence. So they use that cash offer. We can exclude that from their loan when we're actually applying for everything because in our minds they've already sold that property. They're already under contract to sell it. There's no contingencies. It will execute 90 days after the after the closing of their new home, right? So now they have 3 months after the closing the new home to sell that home to somebody else, right? And they can do that, and then they'll pay the $2,000 cancellation fee, and then now everyone's happy, right? Because this company is not really in the business of buying homes. They're in the business of making sure that people get through underwriting and actually get to close out. And it's all perfectly legal. Like the owner of this company is someone I know personally, and he's talked with all the regulatory agencies about it, and he's gotten it approved, and it is a legal way to get through like some of these scenarios, right? So I love it. It's a great option. I think it's good for a lot of people. That's an option that you have, and you can use that to get around some of these underwriting restrictions, things of that nature. So, yeah, I think that's it's a pretty solid way to get it rolling. Now, let's say you decide you want to put down 5%. And you want to do that, you want to look at other options for you after you close on this place. So we're going to copy this from our other product. We're going to do 5% down. Purchase price is $420. Down payment, we're going to do 5%. We're going to do interest rate of 7.25 at this point now, because rates are going to go up a little bit if you put down less money. And we're going to keep everything else the same. And we're going to throw in some mortgage insurance of 0.34 a month, which is like $115. Cool. Now we're going to preview this. So if you decided that, okay, cool, instead of that, I want to purchase this home with 5% down, you would take out a mortgage of $399 instead of $225. His rate would go up by, let's just assume, 0.25%. So his payment would go from $2,000 a month to $33.35 a month, right? Which is a substantial increase, obviously. Cash to close, though, would go down to about $25,000. So you're putting significantly less down. You could do that without selling your current home. And, that would make things easiest for you to purchase this home and more flexible with buying the new property quicker, right? Hopefully you're following me on that. Like, you know, the reason why some people want to do it this way and put down less money is it gives them the flexibility to buy the new home without needing to sell the other home, which gives you more like negotiation power, lets you buy a home quicker, lets you get a home in a better area faster because there's, you're competing with similar offers and things like that. It's just makes everything easier, right? So obviously, though, it comes at a price, which is, higher payment. So what you could do at that point is after the fact, and let's just copy this and do it all here while we're on the call. You do that as you sell your departing home, let's say that next month, right? Now at that point, you can throw the remaining 200,000 on top of it, right? So you're going to go from, or the remaining 175,000. So now we're going to do the full 200, or let's see, 195 at that point after the fact. And that would be called a recast. So what a recast is, and I'm going to just change this. You'll remove your mortgage insurance when you do that. Your rate would still stay the same, though. Your payment would go to $2,034 a month or $35 a month. So you'd be spending about $40 more than if you had just thrown it all down at the beginning, right? Now, what a recast is essentially you're signing that mortgage loan that you're going to be, paying that loan back over 30 years. So if you make a large lump sum payment on the principal, there's only two things that can happen. You can either pay the loan off sooner by making the same payment that you had before, or you can recast that balance that you owe over the remaining term. So like let's say it's 2 months in, you would recast the new loan term over 29 years and 10 months, right? And so that mortgage company is, would be able to do that for you. And like most mortgage companies will do a recast. Some don't, but most do. And, the typical cost for that, I think, is around $500, right? Like some do it for free, some charge money, and usually it's up to about $500. So let's say you do that. You can bring the payment down because after the fact, you were able to put down that much money. You guys follow me? So I do like that option for people who are more flexible, and they want to sell or they want to buy a little bit sooner than they sell, right? So I do like that. I think it's a good option for most people. So yeah, that is the recast, and that's how you buy a home when you're moving up. So hopefully that all made sense. I really do appreciate all the listeners and everything else. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to field questions and even phone calls and stuff on this podcast too. So yeah, till the next time, be good to yourselves and each other. Stay away from tequila, and let's rock and roll. I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.